All right, look, this ain't going to be some sort of regular thing here, but just seeing the whole week one unfold, there is so many things to talk about here, and I'm just trying to provide some sort of semblance of something nice to be entertained by with you guys. Anyway, my kid will be performing the soundtrack in the background here, you know. It's about time Archfiend put background music in his videos. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about every game that happened this week, and it's just interesting enough that the NFL season even started, because a lot of people like myself even doubted that we would get to this point. And the fact that we were at this point in week one came and went, it's interesting enough in itself. I'm not going to talk about every game. Like, I'm not going to say, like, okay, now let's talk about the Browns and Ravens game. Lamar Jackson carved up the Browns. The Browns appear to suck again. Like, that's boring. I'm just going to talk about games that stuck out. Something that I was personally watching myself. Like, for instance, like seeing Joe Burrow play for the Cincinnati Bengals. You know, I was eyeing that game and seeing him start off with a big rushing touchdown or scramble for a touchdown. I'm like, wow, this kid looks legit. And then the rest of the game happened. Ugh. Anyways, it's not saying Joe Burrow's going to be a bust or anything like that, but it's like you got your mind blown right away, and then it's like, oh, reality sunk in. He's still a rookie quarterback in the end of the day. But enough about that. Let's talk about the Eagles, because obviously, first and foremost, my home team is obviously the biggest concern in my football life and where most of my attention is going to be. I tweeted out right after the game that this of all seasons is the one season where I'm not going to panic if, you know, hellfire and brimstone rains down on week one, which is kind of what you got for the Eagles, just from injuries, from bad plays, bad play calling, and above all else, the biggest reason why they lost that game, and I'm not going to be an apologist for this guy in any way, shape, or form, is that was a terrible, terrible quarterback game by Carson Wentz. I'd argue that was the worst game at quarterback that you've seen him play in his entire career, rivaling that just complete turd storm that was that Sunday Night Football game against the Cowboys last season, and another equally bad performance 2 seasons ago, where they went up to Seattle and got their annual beating by the Seahawks and Russell Wilson, who they've yet to ever defeat. Anyway, Russell Wilson, that is, they've beaten the Seahawks, obviously, at some point in their history. But I said of all weeks, again, going back to that tweet I made, of all seasons, this is the one season where I'm not going to freak out. Yeah, it was a bad game. It was a tremendously bad game. It's concerning that the O-line was letting that much pressure get through on Wentz, getting him sacked 8 times. But at the same time, Wentz, you got to learn to throw the ball away, especially when a defender has you in the grasp and you're just looking around, and then it's like, oh, I'm pulled down now. Like, that is just like his whole career so far. It's the 5th year with Wentz, and he just has so much trouble when he takes too much time in the pocket, protection collapses, and he doesn't get rid of the ball. Like, that has been his just entire career. I mean, I don't know if, like, there's just something about pride with this guy of trying to make a play. But anyways, that aside, the obvious play that turned around this entire game was that interception with a couple minutes to go before halftime. I put a lot of this on Doug for calling a pass play when you could just basically run out the ball, at worst, run out a lot of clock, punt the ball off, and expect a Washington offense to at least go from the 20-yard line, go 80 yards on a touchdown drive for an offense that had, was it like 1 or 2 first downs at that point of the game? Like, the offense that was doing nothing, an offense that had more yards in penalties than it did in actual yards gained. Instead, I wasn't so much upset at Doug for calling, you know, a pass play there, but more that I was upset that you're passing to your rookie wide receiver, which again had a phenomenal catch in the first quarter, 45 yard, whatever yard, which pass catch reception was for Rager. Um, the thing I hate about that is you're setting up a big psychological poop storm for him by the worst case scenario happening in that you passed your rookie wide receiver, he doesn't get to the play in time, doesn't fight off the defender when he's not able to make the play on the ball, and the defender gets the ball. And then the complete tide of the game changes because Washington goes in for a touchdown there. For a young player in the league playing in a locker room with grown butt men, I'm worried about what this did psychologically to Rager more than anything else. Because he's going to look back at that play tape and he's going to be like, man, I should have known that I should have, one, went for the ball harder, and two, made an effort to at least get at the defender's arms so that he doesn't receive the ball. And Carson Wentz has got thrown in with a little more zip on top of that too, but there's so many things that went wrong there, from play calling to execution. And that was the game. And I felt that way. I felt that way instantly when it was still a 10-point game at that point. But I was just like, you lost all momentum. Wentz got completely vulnerable on that play because it now gave the defense that attitude of just like, we're going to take this game over. We're just going to start sending the house to him, which is what Ron Rivera did, because it just became Sack City after that. And a lot of people are kind of sleeping on Washington like there's just some scrub butt team, but that is a very ferocious defensive line they have. Like, it isn't. Yes, the Eagles' offensive line obviously is banged up in a number of ways. Lane Johnson, and I said that before the game, it concerns me that Lane Johnson is out of this game because that's your best offensive lineman that's not in the game. And you already have a very good defensive front four with the Redskins. I was like, that's kind of concerning now. But yeah, that defense alone is going to start winning games for the... Did I say the Redskins before? I'm sorry. The no-name team. Didn't want to offend anyone. But it's going to be a habit. I'm going to keep calling them the Redskins. Sorry, people. Anyways, the no-name team with the no-name defense, which is already a name from the past. Pop quiz. Who was known as the no-name defense? Look it up. If you don't want to sound smart. Anyway. That defense is very good, and giving the offense of Washington that 7 points right before halftime just said, yo, this game is in reach. It is now our game to turn over and win, because it's not like I can watch that game and say at the end that I was like, wow, that Washington offense is legit, because if it wasn't for 2 turnovers that gave you good field position, you're probably playing for, at best, an overtime game. But again, field position is all part of the game. I'm not going to try and make an excuse like that because, yeah, your quarterback's got to play better and not get them good field position for the other team. So it's all part of the game, and Washington deserved to win that game. I'm not going to say it's like, oh, it was a fluky win for Washington or anything like that. Like, no, I mean, when you play bad and you play way underneath your opponent offensively, you know what? Okay, enough of all that, because I want to talk about a few other things that perturbed me about this game. And one is Ertz. Zach Ertz. Okay, 2 plays in specific. There was one play that Carson Wentz threw behind him. All right? That was all on Wentz. Or either Ertz didn't read the route right, whatever. Whoever was the wrong on this, the ball went behind Ertz, and Ertz is just there going, shaking his head after the play. Like, what is that about? And apparently before the game, Ertz and Howie Roseman got into a physical shouting match in front of other players. Like, things were that heated behind the scenes. And this guy's shaking his head because a quarterback underthrew you one time. And I don't know if he's getting butthurt because Dallas Goedert got targeted and more than twice as many receptions as Ertz did. And he's seeing that and he's shaking his head like, oh, I finally get a target and the ball's a couple feet behind me. Like, that's the attitude he's getting from Wentz, who's been lighting him up the past 5 years. Like, come on, man. Like, that's seriously the attitude you're going to get. And that's the thing. Once Dallas Goedert started playing well last year, knowing that this was Ertz in his final contract, a contract which he got re-upped once from the team, so it's not like the team never paid this guy. Once Goddard started balling out last year, I was like, Ertz is not going to get re-signed to another contract. And it is honestly a good football decision if you don't re-sign Ertz to another contract. And if this guy's going to have the sourpuss attitude of just shaking his head because he gets overthrown once in a game, and by the way, Ertz, when the ball hits you in the hands on a 4th and 3, why don't you catch it? And maybe the whole audience won't be at home going at you. All right, so don't be shaking your head at the quarterback, you little kids in the room. The kids in the room. Anyway, Zach Ertz, and it has nothing to do with respecting his game or anything, but I understand when they are not going to resign him after this. I understand he wants to be here and all that, and he's going to go down as the greatest tight end here in Philadelphia, but it's just business, man. If you already have a proven tight end on your team and you want to start getting paid like Kelsey type money when you're going into the bottom end of your career now, I mean, what would you do as an executive, Ertz? Like, would you re-sign yourself to cap-strickening money when you already have a proven tight end on your team? I mean, I love the double tight end packages and all that. I think that's a lot to the Eagles' success, but man, it's just business. If you're a good GM, you're not going to overpay for a position that you already have a player that's playing very well, making a pittance of what that guy is. So anyways, that's the two things with Ertz that bug me. And I mean, Eagles fans, like the silver lining to all this is, you didn't have your best offensive lineman playing. Rager's still a young kid that's got to learn the ropes. There was no preseason. You could say a number of things that are going to look better in time, or either that or you're just going to say, like, oh, no, Carson Wentz is going to look like this every week of the year. Like, is that seriously what you're saying? Like, if you're not panicked or that butthurt over that loss, like, you think Carson Wentz is going to look like that every week? And you didn't have your premier running back in the game, who is, I would say, your third best offensive weapon. And again, this is kind of going back onto what I said about, you don't re-sign Ertz, but I think Ertz is the second best offensive weapon on the team behind Carson Wentz. And, you got your third best in a running back that didn't even play in the game yesterday. So, yeah, you're going to have Lane Johnson back. You're going to have a better running game. Rager's going to, get more of a camaraderie with Wentz. And it's not going to be as bad as what you saw in that complete second half of irrelevancy. Like, I'm sorry, you're just not going to keep seeing guys dropping out of the game from dehydration and stuff like that. But enough about the Eagles there. Just wanted to give my fellow Eagles fans that are subscribers here that are begging for the Eagles videos, give you a long portion here. So now let's talk about some other things that stood out in week one. Old man Brady, who I'm on the record saying on Twitter, people can go back and look at any of the comments that I said all off season, that I think it's dumb to think you're going to get any sort of even close to elite or good football play out of this guy. And that's going by how he finished the season and how he looked last season in the second half, and how he regressed from the second half on, to the point that he's thrown three pick sixes in his last 3 games played. Oh, thank you, son. Son brought some tires for us. Thank you. What does Daddy's flag outside of the garage say? What's on the flag? He's trying to look at. You can't see it. It's green. What does it say?
Eagles.
And what do the Eagles do?
Touchdown.
Touchdown. But only twice yesterday. Old man Brady, who you've seen his career recess, or his play recess, to the point that he's thrown 3 pick sixes in his last 3 games. He threw 2 interceptions yesterday. He made Mike Evans somehow look irrelevant. And I said to people, I said, he's got to be able to get the ball deep consistently and not rely on slant passes or short passes. And that's the thing. When you start getting your 40s, the first thing that goes, or the most prevalent thing that goes, is your long ball consistency. And I'm sorry, but it's going to get very dicey down there, because someone like Mike Evans is going, look, man, you're ruining my future potential contracts here because you can't get the ball to me deep. And you're going to start seeing stuff like that pipe up under the seams of things, because Brady's got to find a way to get those big chunk plays to guys like Mike Evans, or else he's going to be like, trade me. Not Brady, Evans. He's going to be like, trade me or get the ball to me or get to someone who can get the ball to me, because Jameis Winston might have thrown 500 interceptions a year, but he also threw the ball to me 500 times a year. Not that many, but, obviously. You understand what I'm saying. How could you say what Brady did yesterday was in any way better than what you saw with Jameis Winston? Because, again, at least when Winston had a bad game, he would still ball out. Like, he would lose games with 300-plus yards, 3 touchdowns, but then throw 4 interceptions on top of that, or fumble for a turnover and stuff like that. Like, okay, yeah, Brady ain't turning over the ball as much as Evans, but, I mean, geez, so many names here. As Winston, but, I mean, you have way more optimism about the game than I do in Tampa. If you think Gronk, who's that? Another guy that was irrelevant yesterday. But again, I will preface things with one thing. Now, Brady, I'm grading on what he's looked like last season going into this season. But much like with the Eagles, if they start looking like this, like the Eagles start looking like this by week 3, and they're being completely abysmal for a full half of football, do the same with Brady. Okay, so I'm not going to ultimately say it's over for him, but again, if you think you're getting the Tom Brady at any point in this season, thank you. Okay. You have way more optimism about the game than I ever will. If you think Tom Brady's just going to magically return to form and start throwing big chunk plays all the time. And then we have our buddy Superman Cam in New England winning. And we all know deep down that bothered Brady right away to see old Billy Boy and the new guy win. Granted, against the Dolphins, but to see them win without Tommy Boy at quarterback. So, I mean, that is a unique dynamic that's going to be playing all year, because, again, Bill Belichick is going to be playing to outshine Tom. That's the bottom line. And Bill may say it's nothing, we're just playing the game to play the game. But, I mean, BS. Bill wants to be known as the factor that it wasn't necessarily Tom that was the ultimate great, but that it was Bill that was the ultimate great. And, I mean, there's that's a lot to play for a coach, too, because if he does it with someone else, it makes Brady's play quarterback take just a step down. It's not saying he's still not going to go down as the greatest at the position ever, but it's sure going to make Bill Belichick look like the greatest coach ever. I know there's going to be the cheating and stuff that's going to tarnish that, but in a lot of people's minds. Um, what else happened yesterday? Um, well, we know one thing that's gonna be saved for the end here, but oh boy, if you thought the Eagles blowing a 17-point lead was bad, did you watch the Lions? Oh my! Trubisky came in and Nick Foles didn't get the start over Mitch Trubisky, so they signed Nick Foles just to stick with Mitch. And luckily they did because Mitch came into the fourth quarter down 17 points and threw 3 unanswered touchdowns in the fourth quarter against the Lions. Oh, Lions. Oh, man. Like, okay, it's bad the Eagles losing 17 points, but losing 17 points in the 14th quarter, that's a whole different other beast of losing. That's like, you're just sitting there just like wrapped up. Mitch Trubisky ain't doing jack this game. We're up by 17, and there's a touchdown, there's another touchdown. Game's over. Gardner Minshew had, what was it, 95% completion rate yesterday? Are the Jags tanking? Who is on the Jags? Oh, I'm looking at these players and these position players. I'm like, who are these people? And they won. So again, I tweeted this out this morning. I want to thank the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady for losing because it takes the national attention off of what could be focused on the Eagles for the worst loss of the week. And then I want to also thank another team for their contribution to the loss column in the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys decided to have their first Sunday night football game of the year, primetime football, and in front of everyone, lose. One thing I'm not going to harp on, and that's unfortunate, is the Cowboys got some tough injuries. Blake Jarwin, their premier tight end, not that he's that much, but I mean, he's their only formidable guy to put in a tight end. Buddy, wait. Can you get your excavator there, bud? Thank you. Sorry, he's trying to fight me, and he beats me up a lot, and I don't want him to beat me up on camera. So that'll just ruin my image. He just threw an excavator on my ding dong. Thanks. You think that's funny?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for your honesty. I hope you guys thought that was funny. Do you think everyone at home is laughing at that? When you threw the excavator at my ding dong, you think everyone else is laughing? Does everyone else think that's funny?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, don't start throwing other things. Welcome to the end of the Archfiend live on camera. Anyway, a Blake Jarwin getting hurt at tight end, just a non-contact ACL tear. Anytime I see that, I'm just like, and it just seems like this year that this is like one of those things where just the guys weren't ready to play. When you see an injury like that, especially in week 1, early on in the game, it's like, man, that lack of preseason, maybe guys weren't competing as hard in practices because maybe in practices they want to take coaching staffs want to take a lot harder look at the fringe guys that were going to make the team rather than guys that they already knew were going to make the team. It just makes me feel bad for guys like that because, you know, it could have been something as simple as, you know, there wasn't just enough practicing this year, and that's why he ends up tearing a major ligament in his leg. The left tackle, who I'm forgetting the name of, that got rolled up on that's 2 excavators to the ding dong. 2. Anyways, that left tackle that got rolled up on a field goal attempt or extra point, I forget, it was a kick. And Leighton Van, don't you steamroller to the ding dong. Leighton Vander Esch in this greatest Sean Lee imitation of a career with a bulldozer to the ding dong. Welcome to fatherhood, people. Don't you dare throw a fire truck at me. Don't you. He put it down. Thank you. Things could get messy. No. This isn't. Throwing stuff at Daddy's ding dong is not a game that we're going to continue. Leighton Vander Esch, it's like, how many times are you going to get an injury to the neck area? I know it's a broken collarbone, and he'll be back this year, but he's just looking like the new Sean Lee. Instead of, having problems constantly with his legs, it's going to be his neck, and it's a shame because as much as I despise a team like the Cowboys, I want to beat them at full strength, but they suffered so many injuries yesterday that, they went from that stacked team to a team that's just, outside of their offensive weapons and, a decent defensive line that didn't look that good last night. But what else do you have that's, worth tipping your hat at? Because if your defensive line is going to look as mediocre as it did last night, and then you lose Leighton Vander Esch and you got Sean Lee who's back on the injured list, you're backing your guys up with Joe Schmo 1 and 2. And that was a Volkswagen Beetle. Apparently the theme of the day is toys that are yellow. So yeah, you got Joe Schmo 1 and 2 at linebacker now. Anyways, not my team, but still happy to see them lose because, again, their loss in prime time and Tampa Bay's loss, and there goes the yellow toy trend, it takes the national spotlight off of losing to the no-name team after having a 17-point lead with the Eagles. But I'll tell you what, man, seeing that Dallas game, that really helped to give me confidence because their offensive line don't look like nothing special, and their defensive front four, which I thought were something decently special, they didn't look like anything worth a darn. And that makes me happy. I mean, because who do you have winning the division? Again, the Redskins won. Tip of the hat to them. But do you think that offense really looked like anything that's going to do much damage? The defense, yes, I'll give that to you. But Haskins didn't do much of anything yesterday. And I mean, I know it sounds like, oh, you're throwing on shade on the team that beat you. What are you doing that for? But really, no-name team fans, do you really think that offense looked like anything impressive? Anyways, we got the rest of the season to find that out. But yeah, seeing that Dallas game, injuries aside, because the injuries did give them a big shove to the season. They still got their playmakers on offense, but that offensive line did Dak no favors in the second half. No favors. And yeah, was that offensive pass interference and a bit of a flop on Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey, oh my God. Oh, yes, Jalen. What am I saying? So many names running through my head this morning. I don't know. I feel good as an Eagles fan. It may be, that I'm just overinflating things and just saying that, week one doesn't mean anything. So, don't get down on a loss. But I don't know. How do you feel as Eagles fans out there? Do you feel much better that the Cowboys lost? But again, are we just content with just being an NFC East winner? Anyways, let me wrap this up. The kid's going to start throwing fire trucks and tree trunks, and I don't know what else he's got planned for me. The porta potty might come my way soon. So yeah, there you go. A half hour of football talk on the Archfiend channel here. Again, sorry if I didn't talk specifically about your team, but that was just the bullet points that stuck out for me on week one. So football is back without fans, unless you're in Jacksonville or Kansas City. That is all.